Hey, John here talking to you from the Deal Kill Training Studio. Today's conversation is going to be about Nugget Investments. Nugget Investments are small investments we can make with the capital we have on hand to have a huge impact on the return on investment of our existing portfolio of homes, or maybe on some properties we're going to close on soon. If you're going to be confronted with the renovation job on something you're going to buy, or maybe a house that you have a lease that's going to renew soon and you're going to have an opportunity to go in there and freshen up the place, this process, this exercise will help you determine the least amount of money to spend to have the biggest impact on your ROI. And it's going to help you quantify that decision to make it really easy for you. So I'm assuming a couple things for this to really work is, number one, that you're not in a crappy neighborhood. If you're in a crappy neighborhood, that brings a lot of challenges with it, and we may have to have a conversation about you just cutting your losses and making your money work better ways for you. The other thing I'm assuming is that you have a property manager who can pretty accurately say that, okay, if you make these improvements, it's going to bump your rent, the amount of rent that you can command, by this much. If we have those two things, then this could drastically improve the ROI of your portfolio, or enhance the experience you have with the tenants you're currently attracting and or the property manager that you're using right now. So let's kind of get into it. What we're going to do is assume that you have $100,000 in a house, and the net income on that property is $10,000. You're making 10% on your money at the end of the year after your property management fee, your taxes, your insurance, potentially your HOA, and your vacancy and maintenance reserves. The decision we have to make here is whether or not we're going to spend, say, $8,000 on that house. Here's what you need to walk away with from this conversation if you're that type of investor out there who just has a hard time parting from money because you have a hard time detaching from the money you've already spent. This is the problem, is that you haven't yet isolated in your head the renovation cost as an investment all by itself. Because what you're doing is, if you're having a hard time with those renovations or justifying spending that much money, it's because you are dragging with that decision, carrying with that decision, the money you've already spent, all the emotion you have attached to that. But if you detach from the money you've already spent, you're going to see how this is a very logical decision to spend a really good amount on a good rehab job. Because what you ideally want to do, outside of just increasing the ROI, is you want to kick yourself out of that value market, that pain-in-the-ass tenant who wants to negotiate on rents. They don't have pride in the house. They don't take care of it. You want to kick yourself out of that competitive rental market and deal with the tenant who wants to plant in that location for a while and renew the leases more, so your turnover costs are lower, and you just have ultimately a better experience. So there's a lot of benefits by being able to justify that extra expense on a really good rehab job. So let's say that $8,000 there, you're going to potentially put in granite countertops. You're going to do maybe a little bit of a backsplash in the kitchen. You're going to upgrade the fixtures on the electrical and the plumbing. Maybe you're going to spice up the landscaping out front to really create that curb appeal to get these tenants inside of your house to see the cool improvements that you did and to land a new solid lease with a really high qualified tenant. Here's what you do. We take that $8,000 and isolate it by itself. In most cases on a $100,000 house, I've never seen it where you're going to spend $8,000 to really freshen up the place and make it pop and not at least get another $100 a month. So in this particular example, if you spent the $8,000 and you looked at that as an investment all by itself, that produced $100 more per month than what you were already getting, well, that's incremental revenue that doesn't have any extra costs attached to it. So you have another $1,200 at the end of the year on an $8,000 investment. So if I were to ask you, if you give me $8,000, I'll give you 15% on your money, well, you probably do that like 8 or 10 times over. And what you don't have to do now is take a whole lot more money and go out there and find a new investment when, again, you have these diamonds in your own backyard and they're laying on the surface of the ground. So we can spend $8,000 here. We get a 15% return on our money just in those little improvements, and we attract a completely different kind of tenant and have a completely different experience. Now, if you combine everything together to see what the impact as a whole is going to be, we increase our net income at the end of the year by $1,200, so we're netting $11,200, and we bumped our cap rate up to about a half a point there. So as you can see here, it makes a lot of sense to spend $8,000 if we looked at it in isolation. Again, it's easy to do if you know that you're in a pretty decent area, you have a pretty good property manager in place, because if you don't have those two things, then your ladder might be on the wrong building and you don't want to go up any more rungs. We just might have to move the ladder to someplace else and cut your losses. And we can have that conversation if you feel like you're there. But anyway, again, these are what I call nugget investments. It's a way to optimize what you already have in place rather than just getting caught up in the game for the sake of playing the game and going out there and finding new and getting yourself in more headaches. Hopefully you like this, and if you have any questions about it, you want to have a conversation about your portfolio, give me a call and we can chat about it.